When I was about 13 years old, my parents were both musicians, and when I was about 13, my parents started bringing me to Nashville and introducing me to people, and luckily I'd met a few people that would let me get up and sit in and jam with them. And when I was 18, I'd made the decision I was going to move to Nashville, and my mom's like, I'll make a deal with you. We'll go to school, and if they give you a scholarship, then you stay and go to school. I'm like, well, it's a pretty good deal, but if I get a scholarship, I'll guarantee you 1 year of school. And she goes, okay, let's see how that goes. So I went and auditioned and got a scholarship for school, and I stayed 1 year and 2 months. And I moved to Nashville when I was 19, and I've been here ever since. About 16 years later, and playing the guitar. A few months after I had been here, I'd started subbing at Opryland when Opryland, the park, was open. Then did some General Jackson stuff. Then the first artist gig I had was with a guy named Rich McCready, and that would have been probably 1997 or 98. And there was a movie with Luke Perry called 8 Seconds, and he had the theme song to that movie, and that was my first touring experience in a van back in 97. And after that, I was out with a guy named Michael Peterson, and that lasted for quite a few years. Michael had several hits, and that was a huge learning experience for me. That was my first outing as being band leader in Nashville. And then I moved to a guy named Jeff Bates, who was awesome, one of the best gigs I've ever had. I met the crest of where I wanted to be. I was like, okay, I finally settled into, this is going to be my career, you know. I knew it then. And then the rest is history in the last few years. Then I've never been home since then. Best show ever is actually this year, probably, with the Tim McGraw tour. It was a huge moment for me. I grew up in a small town in Alabama called Piedmont, Alabama, and went to Gadsden State Community College, and we'd go to Birmingham because we didn't have a place really for concerts, and I would go to Oak Mountain Amphitheater and see all these outdoor concerts in the summer. And the McGraw tour kicked off in Birmingham at that Oak Mountain Amphitheater, and that was the first time I had gotten to play there, and it only took me 38 years to get there, but I finally got there. And it was cool because one of the first big concerts I saw was there, and I sat all the way in the back in the lawn, and it was pretty cool to be playing that stage. When I was growing up, I was about 15, and my guitar teacher's now, he's an author for Hal Leonard, and he's written several books on the guitar styles of Jerry Reed and stuff. And he told me I was 16, and he said I would come in every week and struggle with a thumb pick. And he's like, well, you have to play with a thumb pick. So I mean, he's doing the traditional style, playing with a thumb pick, and he made a deal with me. He's like, I go, I can play all this stuff with a flat pick, and he's like, oh, there's no way you can play with a flat pick. And he's like, if you can play the claw with a flat pick, then you don't need to take lessons from me anymore, because our styles are too different. And I was like, well, I can play the claw with a flat pick right now. And I'm coming in every week struggling, hacking through this stuff, you know, with a thumb pick. And he's like, well, play the claw with a flat pick. And if I can remember it. Something like that. It's probably a little better when I was 16, but I don't get to play that stuff much. But I still love it, and I can still play with a flat pick. So two of my biggest influences were Jerry Reed for all the acoustic stuff. I was just amazed the sound and the creativity of hearing that come out of an acoustic guitar. And as far as electric guitar, Danny Gatton, he was my big hero on electric guitar, because he wasn't doing just the normal thing that I had heard on records. He was incorporating jazz and rock and everything into this kind of country style. And I would say, like, of anybody, that's probably more what I've tried to emulate as far as my own playing. But in Nashville, you almost have to be kind of a chameleon because there's so many different dudes playing on records. And when you go out on the road, you don't get to, it stifles a little bit of your creative process of like being who you are, but also it makes you a more rounded player because, you know, 5 guitar players may play on a record. So, you know, on any given song, you may be playing a Les Paul versus a, you know, a Telecaster through a totally different sound, which that overall of my, you know, years of being on the road and doing this, I've found out it's made me a much more well-rounded guitar player than I would have been if I just kind of stuck into my own thing, doing the same thing over and over. I'd be able to play about 20 licks really well, but I wouldn't be as versed on the sounds, and it's really, I think, helped shape me as an overall guitar player. Yeah, for a few years there was a moment in time where I figured, you know, I'm going to just go down to Broadway and teach some guitar lessons and kind of hang in town for a while. And that lasted about 3 years, and I found out pretty quick you had to work a lot down there if you were going to make any money. So I was playing 4 gigs a day. I would start at 10 in the morning and I would play till 2:30 at night. And sometimes I'd just kind of crash wherever and try to nap when I could and get up and do it again the next day. I probably never played better in my life, but I about killed myself too. You know, it was a lot of work. So in 2007 and 2008, I was touring with a artist on Sony. Her name was Sarah Johns. And in 2008, I was fortunate enough with her to get to do the George Strait tour. And the middle act on the tour was Little Big Town. And every day when Little Big Town sound checked, we would hear these guitars. And me and the other guitar player, who actually now is Kiefer Thompson from Thompson Square, he was our acoustic player, and I played electric in that band. And we would go out and listen to the sound check, and we're like, man, what are these guitars? I mean, just can't believe the sound that's coming out of these guitars. And we'd walk by their guitar stands every day, and we're like, oh, these McPhersons. And we start looking them up, and we're like, oh, man, these are desert island guitars, man. These are guitars we'll never be able to have and play, you know. So now every day, man, I'm so fortunate when I take the guitar out and play it. I mean, because my first experience was seeing those guys every night play these guitars, and I just couldn't believe what was coming out of the guitars. It was such a, you know, it's one of those things where you're a guitar player, you can never get it out of your head. That's when it means something. And going to the factory and seeing all the craftsmanship that goes into it, and watching the guy with the little X-Acto knife shaping the neck, it was incredible, and it really gave you a new respect. I really hope I can start transitioning off of my road stuff and my experience into doing more sessions. And I've taught guitar lessons since I was 15, and that's something I really want to always continue to do. It's so much fun seeing especially when a kid really gets it, you know, and you can tell so early on that they're going to do this. They'll be playing, they might not make it a career, but they'll be playing guitar for the rest of their life. And they're the rare ones, but man, when you get one, it kind of, it makes you want to continue to do it, you know, and continue to help them. But I've got a couple artists that I'm looking at right now. I would like to, you know, start producing myself and you know, hopefully make another instrumental record. I did one back in '99, and it'd be nice to do that again, because kind of embark on, you know, where it's taken me now, like where my playing has progressed so much since then, and it'd be nice to do that again in the next few years, and hopefully raise my kids and be a good dad.